Oh, and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another show, for another episode of the Arsenal Transfer Show, our daily 8 a.m. show every single day, back for episode 66 this morning, I believe so, maybe 65, 66, 66, it definitely is 66. Speaking of 66, first time England have ever reached a final of an international tournament since 1966. So it's quite apt that today is our 66th episode. I promise I did not start these shows with the intention of that actually happening. It's just a nice coincidence. But speaking of which, amazing achievement by England last night. I know that absolutely no one in the world wanted England to win besides England fans. And even then, not all England fans wanted them to win whatsoever, which is completely fair enough. I completely understand the reasons a lot of people give for why they don't like England. That's absolutely fine. But I do. I'm an England fan, and I'm very happy about the fact that we progressed to the first final in my entire lifetime, the lifetime of plenty of people that are out there in the world that never saw 1966. And fingers crossed, the boys can bring it home on Sunday against Italy in what is going to be a really, really difficult game. But my goodness, how good is Bukayo Saka? Honestly, 19 years of age, and it helps us to go through to that kind of area of a tournament that England have never been in before. So amazing stuff. I loved seeing the saltiness online of people saying it's diving home, which I think I've already seen a few comments of in the chat. That's amazing. I don't care. I mean, we should have had a penalty earlier on in the game on Kane anyway, so it doesn't matter to me. A fair play, a massive stick up for Lee Judges, who just refuses to celebrate. All the respect in the world for that. I mean, I can't do that, I'm afraid. I separate Arsenal and England very, very easily, and it's just the way that it goes for me. So enjoying the tournament, and fingers crossed we can bring it home on Sunday. But yeah, a massive congratulations to the team, and Bukayo Saka in particular, who was fantastic. Let's go on to our first story of the day, which revolves around Arsenal pre-season. You may have seen pictures yesterday in there about Arsenal's pre-season and the fact that Arsenal are now seeing players return, which is great, and seeing them come back to the club and train with the team is awesome. And hopefully it means that some deals can get done in regards to contracts. And speaking of which, one player that we will hopefully see earn his new contract is Emile Smith-Rowe, who obviously returned. He's now back from holiday, and those contract negotiations can, fingers crossed, continue in a much more positive way. You probably saw Arsenal's tweet saying that he's come home. So many avenues to dissect of that cryptic tweet, but I think we all know what it means. And whenever you see an Aston Villa fan getting a little bit confident about Emile Smith-Rowe, you can just send them that tweet, which is fantastic to use because there's been a lot of confident Aston Villa fans about, and I look forward to seeing Smith-Rowe sign his new deal. And putting all of that to bed and shutting them up would be quite nice, to be honest. Anyway, let's move on to the actual tangible transfer stuff today and start off with our first story, which is Hector Bellerin, the Spanish defender, right back, been at the club for a significant amount of time after joining from Barcelona's youth academy. Been here since back in the day, 16 to 26, 10 years I think he's been here. And now it does look ever so likely that he'll be leaving this summer, and the destination of that could be Inter Milan. Inter Milan, of course, have sold now Achraf Hakimi to PSG, leaving a spot open in that right wing-back selection of their 3-5-2, should they continue to play that formation under who's the new? Is it Inzaghi? I think it's Pippo, isn't it? Pippo Inzaghi is their new coach, and I don't know what system he's going to play, but they seemingly want to bring in Bellerin, and they want to see ultimately him play as that kind of replacement for Hakimi. But the problem for Arsenal is that they're only looking really for a loan with an option to buy, which we've talked about a lot of times on the show as the absolute no-no when it comes to selling players for us, because Arsenal need to be guaranteed money. We need to sell smartly, and we need to get in the players that we need, and to do that we do need to obviously look to players that are going to bring us in a little bit of capital. It's Simone Inzaghi. You get messed up. They're brothers. But in terms of the amount of money, 20 million euros, is what Arsenal want. I don't think that's what they'll get from the looks of things, which is shocking when you think about it for a player that's a Premier League proven right back, who's been at the club for a significant amount of time. You want to get compensated for the development of the player, and 20 million euros is a really poor amount of money. You would hope that with other teams like Villarreal, Sevilla, Atletico Madrid, all credited with interest, that there will be a decent price in the end, kind of brought through for him. But let's see, and see if it ends up getting done or not. But that's one of the stories that is breaking this morning around him possibly going off to Inter Milan. We move on to Nuno Tavares, the Benfica left back that Arsenal look to be signing. Now, a lot of you may have been wondering where on earth he is. Why hasn't he signed his new deal? Well, according to Charles Watts, he has been isolating. Of course, he had to travel from Portugal, which was on, I believe, still the red list, at least the amber list here in the UK. So he did have to self-isolate, and will have to do that for a number of days. And then that signing can be made official, and he can then join up with the group in pre-season. The hope is that he can join up with the pre-season group before their tour of Scotland. There is also a hope that Sambi Lokonga, should that deal get done fairly quickly, also have enough time to isolate and then be involved with pre-season with the Arsenal team as well. So there are fingers crossed, basically, that both Tavares and Sambi Lokonga will be available and ready for us to use in pre-season. Let's move on to Denis Zakaria, the Swiss midfielder. Links have emerged this morning out of Germany that Arsenal are one of the interested parties in the Swiss Borussia Mönchengladbach man, and we've actually already done a tactical breakdown on him. If you want to find out some more about the player, we've done a dedicated show on him. If you type in Zakaria tactical breakdown, it will come up on your YouTube feed. I'll also leave a link above my head of when we're watching on playback for that. But he's been linked with a move to Arsenal. I like the player. I think that he's got a hell of a lot of potential, despite still being in his early to mid-20s. But I think that if Arsenal are going to go for a midfielder, and if they're looking for someone like Zakaria, I'd much rather they just moved for a Basuma this window. I think he's a much more sensible option for Arsenal to push for. And Zakaria is, at the moment, being kept out of the Swiss team by Granit Xhaka. So it's not going to be an upgrade for Arsenal to go and bring him in right now. Yes, I know that Granit Xhaka has an amazing performance every single time he plays for Switzerland. He's brilliant for them pretty much, but at the same time, we want someone who's going to upgrade upon the position that we've got, and I'm not sure that Zakaria is that just yet. Could he be in the future? Definitely, but right now, it's not one that I can say is going to give us that kind of push and that boost that we need to get to the targets that we have for next season. Moving on then to our I think this is like the third from the end. We've got a couple more things to talk about after this. Miralem Pjanic, Barcelona central midfielder, 31 years of age, Bosnia international. He is available this summer for effectively a free transfer, because if you haven't already looked into the Barcelona situation, I know a few of you did after I recommended you go and read up on it the other day, and you sent me some DMs about it. It is as bad as you are reading. It genuinely is horrific in Catalonia right now, to find out what's going on with that club and the issues they're facing with the contracts and the money they're owed and how much they need to get off the wage bill. But Miralem Pjanic has been now tipped to be interesting Arsenal, considering the fact that Barcelona are willing to let him go for free. He's a very good central midfielder, did very well at Roma and then Juve, of course, after that. Moved to Barcelona, where it's not gone amazingly well. He's still got quality. However, I would not be going for Pjanic because of the age, because of 31. Arsenal need to be looking at younger players with sell-on value, and the wages will be ridiculous too. It's the same kind of reason why I wouldn't be going for Coutinho when people ask about him. I'm just not interested in players with no sell-on value to Arsenal at the moment. We need to be smarter, savvier in the market to make sure that we're making some good decisions. If he goes off to the likes of Spurs, so be it. I'm not interested. They're a club that need to be better with their finances, so they end up by bringing in Pjanic on a ridiculously high signing on fee and wage, then that's silly for them. Juventus supposedly are his number one choice, which would make a lot of sense for Juventus to go and do that, because they do make some silly signings. And how ironic that they go and get Pjanic after they swapped Pjanic for Artur, which in itself was such a ridiculous deal for Barcelona to do. But they did it. Anyway, I don't think this is going to happen, but it's interest that's coming out and links from Italy. So take it with a huge pinch of salt, I would say. Move on to our penultimate story of the day on Houssem Aouar. We know obviously plenty about Houssem Aouar now. If you do want to go and check out our tactical breakdown on him, we did a show yesterday with the help of Jeremy Smith, breaking him down, finding out about him, how he's done this past year, and seeing all about him. So please make sure you go and check out the video that is on the channel already. It gives you all the insight, the expert insight, the statistics, and all of the stuff that you need to know about him. I've got my reservations, as you know. If Arsenal end up getting this done, it does seem to be a deal that can be done for around the 25 million euro figure. That's all that Lyon are really asking for. James Ollie from ESPN tweeted yesterday that Arsenal have indeed revived their interest, but there's been no official offer. So any links that you've seen with Arsenal making an offer so far are not the case. That was premature. As I said to you, I think when we saw the links first come up, there was no info about a bid going in whatsoever. That's now been confirmed. But there could be, and Arsenal may move for Aouar. I'm not going to go into things now about how I feel because I talked about it a lot in yesterday's show, and I wrote an article on it as well for 101, so you can also read that. Moving on then to our final bit of the day, which revolves around Ben White and some positive news about Ben White. You probably saw yesterday that Di Marzio tweeted out a story that Arsenal are now just one step away from securing the signing of Ben White from Brighton. Encouraging signs. The figures that have been touted by the likes of Duncan Castles is that Arsenal have offered 48 million up front, which is just 2 million away from what Brighton wanted up front, and then the rest is paid in kind of the installments or bonuses, etc. Arsenal need to get this deal done as quickly as possible because every passing day another team is interested in this guy, and obviously he's impressing a lot of clubs around not just the UK but Europe as well. But it does seem very positive. You may also have seen Chris Wheatley on Instagram did put a very cryptic message on his story with "he's coming home" with a picture of Ben White and red and white emojis, which is, I can't believe I'm even reporting on it like that. 2021, that's how it works. But that obviously he seems pretty confident that Ben White is going to be an Arsenal player next season, as does the growing feeling throughout the media. So that's a really good move for the Gunners, and I'm fingers crossed hoping that it gets done. But as Matt G in the chat says, it does feel like Ben White has been one step away since about 2017 by this point. So we'll take it as much as you want with realism, but I think that we can be, cautiously optimistic about Ben White being an Arsenal man next season, which is a really good sign and a good move for Arsenal and a good change to see them doing that in the market. And that concludes our news for the day. In regards to all of our stories, which have been convoluted and conflicting at times, but for the 66th show, it's been a very decent one. Thank you so much, guys. As always, please drop a like on the video and subscribe if you're new. We are going to move on now to our next section, which is, of course, you guys asking questions in the chat box and getting your thoughts and feelings before we wrap up. We get about 15 minutes of that. So if you do have a question, if you would like to ask something, then please make sure you do. Let's go and scroll up a little bit and see what you guys are saying. Ingar says, Tom, is White that great? Worth 50 million? Worth 50 million is an interesting question. At the end of the day, it depends on where you assess the market and what 50 million buys you at the moment. He's English. He's a centre-back. He's 23 years of age. He's got interest from a lot of top clubs, not just in the UK, but across Europe as well. And he's had 2 excellent seasons. So, yeah, that is the going rate for an English centre-back, unfortunately. That's how much it pays. Is he worth the same as what you pay on the continent for a player at 50 million? Maybe not. But that's the going rate, and Arsenal do need to start investing in more Premier League proven talent. That's the only way that I really see us closing that gap between the clubs above us, because that's what they do. That's what they do. They don't just specialise in foreign talent. They bring in talent from the UK as well. So it's important that Arsenal do that. So yes, he is that great, hence the interest from Arsenal and a hell of a lot of other clubs. Thankfully, Arsenal's kind of real proactiveness in this deal has seemingly scared off quite a few other clubs in that interest area. So hopefully we see this deal get done. Let's scroll down a little bit more. Lee Tiny Morris says, will Brighton let us take 2 of their best players? If you pay the money, yes, absolutely. Would Borussia Dortmund let both Sancho and Haaland go? Haaland, I suppose it's Haaland. Yes, they would, because if teams paid the money, they would let them go. It's just how it works. I think people overthink sometimes the idea of one club letting too many players leave for another. I mean, you look at how many Southampton let go to Liverpool. It's the way it works. If you pay the money that the club want, they will sell. If you get the money that you want for your player, you sell them. You don't turn down a good deal. So Hill says, Tom, can you see a potential Shaw-like turnaround with Chambers at right back? Shaw has always obviously been a left back at Manchester United and Southampton prior. Chambers has failed to really specialise in a position, has played well at centre back before his injury, has come back and played well at right back. Can I see him specialising at right back? I don't know. I think he's going to be used more as a utility player at Arsenal that can play as a backup centre back and as a backup right back. I'm not sure that you'll see him as a main starter at Arsenal, but we will see. Wilson says, do you think England have got a chance against Italy on Sunday? Of course, England have got a great chance against Italy on Sunday. I wasn't that impressed by Italy against Spain. I thought Spain were going to get absolutely hammered, to be honest. So it's going to be interesting. England played up against a back three against Denmark and kind of really struggled to attack those flanks, which has been England's biggest kind of threat so far this tournament, is using the wide areas. Italy play with a back four with two backup fullbacks. So I have hope that is going to give England confidence to really attack those flanks, give Saka and Sterling a good opportunity to really take on Di Lorenzo and Emerson. I'm confident. I'm never not confident about things. I'm an optimist, so I'm fingers crossed hoping it can go into Sunday's game with a lot of confidence for the game. Billy says, would you be happy if we get Aouar and Basuma instead of Maddison? It's interesting because I still think that Arsenal need to push for a good attacking midfielder this window. He's not a number 10, Aouar. He's a number 8, and that's his best position on the pitch, along with playing slightly skewed to the left-hand side. Can he play number 10? Yeah, you can put him there. You won't necessarily get the best performances from him, but he will. That is a position that he could theoretically play. Would I be happy with him over Maddison? I'd rather Maddison than Aouar. Price to me, I don't care about how much money they cost. As long as we get our targets in, that's what I care about in this window, because it's important that Arsenal go out and upgrade upon the squad that they've got. If that means spending more, it means spending more, but as long as it's spent correctly. I'd rather spend 60 million on a player that's going to guarantee me upgrade and quality than 30 million on a player that's going to guarantee me nothing but inconsistency. So I'm not saying that that's what Aouar will bring. I'm just saying in the theory of those two, I'd rather spend 60 million to get a consistent player than half that price on someone that's not going to bring you that guarantee of consistent performances. I'm not saying that's either of those two players. It's just the way that Arsenal should be using the market this window, is to make sure they buy smartly. So Hill says, Tom, we've already done that one. Let me scroll down a little bit more. Max says, hey, Tom, which of our youngsters would make their next step in the upcoming season? You would hope that if they stay, obviously we would hope Martinelli can push forward and become more of a regular in the first team. That's a good one for him. In terms of the actual Hayland Academy graduates, you're looking at players like Aziz, you're looking at players, if he stays, like Kido Taylor-Hart, maybe getting a couple of performances in the cup games. We want these guys to try and get opportunities. I'd like to see Aziz go on loan, to be honest, for a full season. Get him out, get him playing regular football. Bellerin, of course, we want to see him get some minutes too. There is a few players that we would hope are going to take their next steps next season. Nothing on right backs, Philip. I know you ask every show, but no, mate, absolutely nothing. Mulder, there's been interest in him from Sassuolo, but nothing credible and nothing official in regards to a bid on him whatsoever. Neil says, when will be Arteta coming out and letting fans know that the transfer plans are? I doubt a manager will ever come out and let a team know what their transfer plans specifically are. He will start doing press conferences during pre-season. So we'll have to wait for that for him to be asked on specific transfers. But rarely do managers ever come out and say, I want this player or this position or this. Very rarely. So I don't think you should get your hopes up about that being revealed whenever he does speak. Abhishek says, Tom, do you feel... I've missed that question now. That's annoying. I'm really sorry. It's disappeared off my screen. Let me see if I can find it. I'll answer PKC while I try and find it. Is Xhaka deal getting any closer? And did his value go up because of his amazing Euros performance? PKC, yes, it's getting closer because he's no longer at the Euros. No, it didn't add any value because it just didn't. I'm sorry. You're still going to see him go for the same amount of money as he always did. I found Abhishek's question. Do you think Arteta feels like he's already has a replacement for Saliba in Omar Rekic? I haven't seen a lot of Omar Rekic whatsoever. I know that he obviously has been playing international football for Tunisia now, which is great and really good experience. but I couldn't tell you, mate. I really couldn't. We signed him with a lot of potential from Hertha Berlin, so you would hope that maybe they see really long-term and high-level potential in him, but who knows? Yash says, are we still in the race to sign Locatelli? It does not seem to be the case, Yash. Unfortunately, it does seem all the more likely that he's going to be going to Juventus, and maybe why Arsenal are going to be looking to pursue a deal for a different central midfielder. Ingar says, Arsenal's pre-season has started. What's the reason for us not getting rid of the deadwood? Bellerin, Xhaka, Willian, Kolasinac and Nketiah are still here. I'm not too concerned right now. I've been very critical of the club not selling players properly, not getting good enough deals for our players. I don't want Arsenal to rush through the transfer window and sell our players for pennies. Arsenal need to change the perception of how we are selling players and how much we are selling players for. If a club comes along with an awful offer and we say, no, this is the price that we want for the player, I'm fine with Arsenal doing that, because Arsenal need to change the perception. If it gets towards the end of the window and then we're starting to have some issues selling players, that's when you start to say, you know, if you want to move on the players, then you start to lower your asking price. You don't lower your asking price at the start of July. You just don't do that. It's just bad salesmanship. It's like if you go to a boot fair in England, you don't suddenly start lowering your prices at 10 a.m. because you're not sold anything. The day ends at whatever time in the afternoon. You start lowering your prices towards the end of the day. You don't lower it right at the beginning of the day. You need to get the prices that you want as much as possible, and then you can have your clearance towards the end should no one come in at the price that you were asking for. I want Arsenal to change the perception of the way that they sell, and that is only going to happen through a little bit of patience and a little bit of stubbornness, and I'm absolutely fine seeing that happen this window. Cyrus says, do you think Lokonga will be ahead of El Neni in the pecking order? Where does he fit within the squad? Of course, Lokonga is someone that can play and has played defensive midfield. He can play in a number 8 position, kind of your more reserve player, alongside someone else that's going to push forwards. Is he ahead of El Neni? Maybe not to start with, and I don't want you guys to suddenly panic and think, oh my God, he's miles better than El Neni, purely because of the fact of transition and the fact he's 21, he's playing in the Belgium league, and we need to make sure he transitions and stuff like that. That is going to come with time. El Neni's got a year left on his deal. This is his first season in a Premier League club, should the deal be confirmed, which we are confident it will be. I imagine he'll start easing the play time, but who knows? I mean, we signed Guendouzi and he played the first game, and that surprised everyone against Man City. So there's all the possibility that he could start, but I would say that he's probably going to get eased in, would be my prediction. Carol Bailey says, do you think if Marie considers leaving for Besiktas, should we keep Saliba as we would be short at centre-back? I mean, the Gabriel injury, we had good news about that yesterday. It doesn't seem to be too serious. Gabriel said that himself, so hopefully that's not going to be a long-term problem and should just be back at the start of the season. Should we keep Saliba if we sell Marie? Probably, because then he's arguably like he's got more options to play. He's got more ability to play. If you've got Marie and Gabriel, he's not getting into that left side. If you've got White and Holding and Chambers, is he getting into that right-hand side? Probably not as much as he needs to. So if you've got both sides, then yeah, maybe you've got a good option to keep him. I still want to see him play as many games as possible this season. If that's on loan, that's on loan. But he needs a full season of playing under his belt to really develop, really show what he's about. And I have no qualms with the decision to send him out on loan this season, as long as it's to a Premier League club, which it doesn't look like, which is a big disappointment. And 2, we see some kind of commitment with a contract extension or a verbal commitment, something like that. That's what we need to see. Let's scroll down a little bit more. Ingar says, Tom, your thoughts on the second ball? Poor ref decisions, soft penalty, and laser in Schmeichel's eyes. Yeah, I mean, it was a very soft pen. There was contact. He went down. Arsenal. I keep doing that. England should have had a penalty anyway earlier on when Kane was fouled in the box. So, and that wasn't given. I was very surprised that wasn't given. So, if that wasn't a pen, you know, swings and roundabouts, it always comes back round. So England deserve to win the game without an absolute doubt. So I think people need to just move on from it now and accept what the situation is. Neil says, do you think Arsenal should be more transparent with fans? Of course. I think there should be more communication between the ownership and supporters, that we were told that was what was going to happen when we did the fan forum. Has there been any communication since that point? Absolutely none whatsoever. So hopefully over the summer we see some more transparency and some more communication from up high. but we haven't seen any so far. Balaji says, are we still in a race to bring someone in the right-back position? Arsenal are certainly interested in bringing in someone in the right-back position, but until Bellerin is sold, I doubt you'll see any kind of real tangible links with someone. Suray says, Locatelli was never an option. Not true. Usually when the CEO of a club comes out and feeds stories that he's sort of trying to drive up the price, the second part is certainly true. Sassuolo were definitely doing that and trying to force Juventus to sell. Arsenal were definitely interested in Locatelli. Vishal says, if Ben White's worth 50 million, won't Basuma cost us a lot more? No, not homegrown, wants to leave. They've brought in a replacement in Mwepu already, so no, he won't cost a lot more. 30 to 40 million pounds would be my guess about how much he will go for in the end. Tom says, with Gabriel injured, maybe Arteta won't be able to continue ignoring Saliba's talent and start playing him in the league. The kid could now emulate the fortune of his ex-teammate Fofana at Leicester. Fofana was brought into the Leicester team because of the injury crisis faced at Leicester. Could the same happen at Arsenal if Saliba stayed? Yes, of course, but that's down to chance. And Gabriel's injury doesn't seem too serious either. So I don't think that's going to be an issue going forwards. Matt G says, Tom, do you think Arsenal are trying to tie up the Ben White deal with Brighton before discussing Basuma, or do you think Basuma is not an option? I think Basuma is an option. I think Arsenal have interest in the player, but I think they've got interest in other players higher up on their list. I don't think that one negates the other. I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I don't think they're linked in any way. So don't worry. Wesley says, we need to have one Bosnian in the club. It is bad luck if we don't. So if Kolasinac is leaving, Pjanic it is. I don't know about that, Wes. I don't know about your affiliation to Bosnia, Herzegovina, but I think Kolasinac obviously leaving is a positive. I don't want Pjanic. If there are any interesting young Bosnian players that are out there that Arsenal could look at, maybe that's the way that we should target that area, Wes, but not for me. Sorry, mate. Walk says, would you take Pjanic on a one-year contract? Nope, I wouldn't. Jose says, I know you have Martinelli. What about the possibility of Griezmann? Again, no, wrong age profile. And also, if you've seen the things that came out about a video that he did the other day, I don't want anyone with a character quite like that anywhere near my club. Thank you very much. Drew says, would you take Nick Pope as our starting goalkeeper? I'm sorry, Drew, I've now missed your comment and can't highlight it, but I saw your question. Would I take Nick Pope at the team? I think you said. I'd take Nick Pope 100%. He wouldn't be a backup, so it'd have to be coming in as a starter. But yes, I would take Nick Pope. I quite like him. 1984 says, let's be honest, our club is in crisis. And if the Cronkies are doing anything to get us back in the top four or challenge for it, let alone win the league, they're not doing anything right now. They're not investing. We've known that for a very, very long time. So we'll have to wait and see. Ingars, Mavropanos is a loan with an obligation unless they get relegated. So you can effectively consider that a sale. Gendouzi's is a loan with a 1 year left on his deal with an option. I don't know how I see an option being inserted into a loan if he's got 1 year left on his deal not being activated. I think there's something that's, you know, in the wording. I don't really know what's going on with the Gendouzi deal. It's weird. But, you know, it's money off the wage bill. It's bad. Gendouzi's a bad character that we've removed, so that's good news. Mavropanos is an awful sale. Absolutely terrible business by the club, the Mavropanos situation. But, you know, we move on. Adam says, Tom, would you take Martinez? But obviously. Obviously. Philip says, do you like Pellegrini in midfield? I believe he hasn't got that long left on his contract. Lorenzo Pellegrini from Roma. Really exciting attacking talent from Roma. Yes, I like him. I haven't seen loads about him for what I've seen. But I think maybe there are other options out there. But if he's available for a cheaper deal, and we see some links, I'm going to do a hell of a lot of research to make sure that I do know plenty more about him. That is for sure. Mr. Harrison Carnaby says, can we just make Brighton our feeder club? I mean, we do need a feeder club, but it can't be in England. We need to make sure it's on the continent. But sure, they do make a lot of decent signings. And I think actually Graham Potter should be doing a better job with the squad that he's got. But that's just me. Jose says, Saliba or Mavropanos, what do you think, Tom? I mean, Mavropanos had an excellent season at Stuttgart. He's now gone back. It's not even a question about keeping him anymore. Saliba needs a full season under his belt. What he's shown looks really promising. We will wait and see. Euro says, Charles Watts said that there is an option in Guendouzi's contract to extend for another year, and it's activated, so he has 2 years. Okay, so there you go. I still think it's a really bad bit of business that Arsenal have put an option in that deal. It's absolutely ridiculous. Drizzy says, would you take Ings as a Lacazette replacement? No, I wouldn't. His injury problems are too frequent. If he didn't have injury issues, then yes. But the injury issues are far too great to bank on him as a main striker. Chris P says, is Danny Olmo realistic? No, unfortunately not. If so, how much would you pay for him? He's going to be going upwards of 50 million. You might say that's realistic, but unfortunately, why would he leave RB Leipzig right now to go to Arsenal? He's in the Champions League next season. He's got the possibility of challenging for a title in the Bundesliga. He has no reason to leave. He's on a long-term deal-ish, so I don't think there's any reason why he would leave. So I don't think it's realistic, unfortunately, which is a shame because I'd love us to go for Danny Olmo. Jashar says, as Arsenal used to say, we have to wait until the likes of Man City and Chelsea have had the first pick, i.e. we'll be left with the scraps, especially as we're out of Europe. There are some positions on the pitch and some players that we won't be able to get because we are not in Europe. It's just the reality of the situation, and that clubs like Chelsea and Man City and Man United and Liverpool are going to be ahead of us in the order of clubs, and we will really have to overpay on some players, unfortunately, to get them in over our competitors. It's just the way that the world works, unfortunately, for Arsenal right now. We need to change that, and we change that by getting into the top four next season and doing as much as we can to get there. Ludwig says, do you think the Barca situation changes our right-back target? I don't think. I don't see Arsenal going in for Dest or Emerson, which is a shame because I would have liked them to. But I don't think I see that happening, Ludwig. I'm sorry. I wish that it was the case, but it just isn't. Was the signing of Pepe worth it, Jose? At the moment, it doesn't look like it. It's £72 million. We'll have to wait and see if at all it improves this season coming. Fingers crossed that it does. Pato, no, sorry, mate. Nothing on Willian going right now. Absolutely zero. Anyway, we're going to wrap things up there. There's probably going to be another show this afternoon, so keep your eyes peeled to the channel by keeping your subscription on. If you haven't subscribed already, please do, and turn that notification bell on so you never miss a show. Please drop a like on the video to show your appreciation too. Really appreciate you guys tuning in as always. Go check out our tactical breakdown that we did yesterday on Houssem Aouar and find out all about him and my thoughts and feelings on him specifically. I'm very honest about it. I don't hold anything back, so please do go and check that one out. And I'll see you guys very, very soon. If you'd like to support the channel, you can by joining up as a member and joining our Discord server too. See you again soon, guys. And as always, up the Arsenal.